Hello, Lamer Gamers.
This is Simply Travis and
Rowdy 5000.
and we threw a blue shell that created chain reaction of destruction on the most vicious of Mario Kart matches, allowing us to steal first place in the Star Cup at the last second from our longtime nemesis Baby Peach, unlocking the 4th episode of Lamer Gamers.
Baby Peach.
I hate Baby Peach. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about the games we've been playing recently. Rowdy's changing heart regarding Sekiro.
Ugh.
The latest Sony State of Play, Sony's Direct, I was close there. Some leaks by Best Buy, and GameStop might be dying. Is it dying? And what are your thoughts if it does? So, let's go ahead and start with Mr. 5000 over here. And Sekiro, man.
Look, man.
We talked well about that the other day.
Yeah, last recording, I had just started playing Sekiro. I was maybe 2-3 hours into it. And I will tell you right now, it is an amazing looking game. The controls on it are awesome. I mean, it's so fluid. It controls so well. I cannot say enough good things about this game, except for the fact that I hate it.
So what makes you hate this game, Rowdy?
Look, I don't have much patience when it comes to a game. And even though it controls very well, and I just don't have the patience to slash, dodge, retreat, dodge, slash, oh, I got hit once, I'm dead. I don't have the time for it. It got to one point where there was one enemy I was trying to take out, and every time I tried to take him out, I had to take out at least 4 other people around him before I could try and attack him. So I kept having to go in, kill somebody, retreat. Go in, kill the next person, retreat. Till finally, about 30 minutes later, I'm able to fight the actual person, and I die. Quick.
So you keep talking about dodge, repeat. Sounds a lot like Monster Hunter in a way.
No, it's exactly like the Soulsborne games.
Okay.
I mean, it's made by From Software, so the people who did, the Demon Souls, Dark Souls, and Bloodborne.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of the same lines. I actually never played any of the Demon Souls games, and I hear that those games are more rewarding for the dodges, but this game is more about parrying or at least blocking the hit as it comes in. It works on a posture meter for the other character. So if they swing at you and they hit you, it kind of knocks them off balance. And it brings their posture gauge down.
So you have to be very exact whenever that hit comes in, opposed to being able to dodge a little bit early.
You have to block it like right then and there, and you get rewarded more for blocking than you do from dodging. Because with the block, like I said, it knocks them off a little bit. So once you knock down their posture meter, that's when you can go in for a death blow. Most of your main enemies die with one death blow, which some enemies you could just sneak up on and instantly kill them. Some of the mini-bosses, or most of the mini-bosses that I've seen, have 2 death blows. But if you could sneak up on them from behind, you can get the first death blow out of the way.
Gotcha.
And then that way you only have to knock their posture meter down once before you kill them. But I'm at a point in the game where there are 3 mini-bosses that I could fight, and I can't beat any of them because I just don't have the patience. Because, I mean, one of the characters I had to fight, I try and block some of his moves, but I didn't look close enough, and he's actually swinging at my feet, which you have to jump at that point. But, like, if you jump at the right time, like, you could jump over him, you could, like, kick him in the head, knock him off balance a little bit. So, I mean, yeah, if you like the Soulsborne games, you're gonna like Sekiro. Me, not a fan.
If you like your blood pressure to be about 200 for the top number, you'll love this game.
Oh, and I did my best to not be angry. My wife is sitting on the couch next to me, and she is laughing because she knows that I'm trying not to scream and holler at this game. She knows that I'm trying not to just curse ridiculously at this game. But at one point, I just looked over and I said, you know what? I'm done. Can't do it anymore.
So you're done. You're not gonna finish it.
I may revisit it one day. There's actually been a big stink about a lot of people saying there needs to be a difficulty setting in it. Even though it's really hard for me to play, I don't think there needs to be a difficulty setting in it because that's what this game's made for. Like, it's made to be hard. It's made for the people who like to grind into games, and I'm not that person.
So, are you saying the story is not worth experiencing then?
The story's great.
Well, to me, that I will play a game even if it's tough as nails, but I will sometimes cheat. Not really cheat, but I'll put it on easy if I want to experience the story.
There's no difficulty setting.
That's lame. I think they need one. Like, there are some games that I kind of want to experience what's going on and, feel like I've succeeded at something.
Yeah, well, there's been a big stink lately. I don't know if it's anything you follow, but about the whole accessibility of Sekiro and how it really is one of the absolute hardest games I've played, at least of these last few generations. It doesn't include your old 8-bit, 16-bit, hard as hell games.
So, the only game that I've been playing that's tough is Rogue Legacy lately.
Rogue Legacy's fun, man. It's been a while since I played it.
Did you ever beat it?
No.
I finally beat a boss.
I got to one character that had because each character's got some kind of ailment and like my character had gigantism, so I couldn't duck under anything, and then I forget what else was the problem, but everything was reversed. So I was actually on the ceiling.
Yeah.
So the whole game was upside down. And I was like, holy crap, that's ridiculous. And I died pretty quick with that one. And
so for those of y'all that don't know what Rogue Legacy is, it is a roguelite. It is procedurally generated. It has all the fancy buzzwords of indie games. Oh, and it has 8-bit graphics. Yes, another buzzword that you're going to find with every single indie game.
I say more 16-ish it looks.
Yeah, you're on it.
It's definitely retro.
But the controls are decent. They're not the greatest. And what happens is that you are playing as people in a lineage or down a family tree, and they all have different disabilities,
elements.
Elements. That's where you might be colorblind, so everything's black and white, or you might be nearsighted, so everything that's around you is blurry except for right up on you. There's vertigo. Everything's upside down and backwards.
That's the one I had. Vertigo.
I've had vertigo before. It ain't any fun. Labyrinthitis sucks. But that's
one of mine had gigantism, so I couldn't duck below anything.
Oh yeah. I like them because their swords are humongous too.
Yeah.
They got reach. So there's different classes. You can be a knight, a barbarian, a wizard. There's a ninja. There's some sort of a lich or lich king. Lich King. Think necromancer king. And you use vampirism to get health from things. It's a really fun game. The little gimmick is fun. It gets tough, though. I mean, if you're into procedurally generated games, you'd probably like it, but it does get a little old after a while.
It is definitely a roguelike game.
Yes. I still haven't beaten it. I probably never will. I just play it whenever I just want to play.
Yeah, I mean, that's all that
something
game really
fun.
is.
It's good stuff. I've enjoyed it. It's not as good as the other game that I bought, but I'll talk about that after the game that you bought this week. That is a full-priced
all right, look,
Nintendo game.
So, I replaced Sekiro with Yoshi.
That seems like a good replacement.
I love Yoshi's Crafted World.
Yeah.
It looks fantastic. People I've seen a lot of talking, a lot of articles or people talking about how they didn't like the art style. It was too kiddie and everything, but the art style is actually amazing because everything in the background looks like it was thrown together with cotton balls and toilet paper tubes and aluminum cans and things like that. It looks really cool. And then whenever you do the reverse levels, you could beat a level and get a lot of the flowers, which are the collectibles in each level, and then you could do the reverse side where you have to find all of the Poochie Pups. There's 3 Poochie Pups you got to find, and when you do the reverse of the level, you basically see everything from the back. So it's funny because the front level is very polished, everything's painted and stuff, but on the back of the level you can see labels from cans where they didn't finish painting over it, and you can see tape where tape is holding things in place. And then as far as the controls, I mean, it's a Yoshi game. I mean, you've got your flutter kick to get you back up. you aim your eggs to throw and stuff like that. And I got really frustrated at first because in one of the old Yoshi games, I was able to do, was it where you hold the button and as soon as you let go, he throws the egg. Well, the default version in this is you push the button and then you can release it and then he aims and you have to hit it again. You can change that in the options though. I think it's called like a hasty option, and there's even an even easier option. I forget exactly.
So
what
this
it's
is
called.
the anti-Sekiro.
Yes,
there's easier upon easier upon easier options.
It's an easy game, and it has an easier mode.
Is it as easy as Yoshi's Woolly World though? Like from the Wii U?
Oh yeah, no, it's way easier. Because,
Really?
Well, okay. The regular
That
difficulty.
game was like
The regular difficulty is about where you would want it to be. Like, there's still a lot of stuff that I can't find in the levels.
Yeah.
So you do have to do a lot of searching, but the easy mode I was talking about is if you hold the jump button, you can fly.
Yeah.
So that's for like really super easy mode.
And so I think the thing that bothers me with Yoshi games, and I will probably not buy this one until it's like dirt cheap at some point. One, aesthetically, I like the idea of it looking like somebody built it, but they've already done that. And granted, I know they're going for more like, a kid designed the thing. But Woolly World pretty much did the same thing. There's not a whole lot of difference in my mind. Two, the graphics are sub 720, which would drive me crazy because some games when they're too blurry and I want to see something like Skyward Sword, whenever I want to see a graphical effect that I'm very used to dealing with because art teacher, I want to see that right. So that kind of bugs me. Hopefully, if there is a Nintendo Pro, which we'll talk about later, maybe they'll bump up the resolution. I'll be happy. But the simplicity of the game has gotten to be overkill.
It is very simple. Like I was saying, like there's a lot of easy stuff in the game, but there's some things that I can't find.
Because Yoshi's Island wasn't even as simple as they're making them nowadays. I loved Yoshi's Island, and that was back whenever Super Nintendo, and they were doing these pastel-style graphics, which were, like I said, I'm a big fan of art styles in games, which to me as a kid was just epic looking that they could even pull that off after seeing 8-bit games and the other Marios, which didn't really do that. They looked like video games. This looked like a different medium.
I could go on for hours about just the technological leap of Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island.
Yeah.
Because it was just so good. And this has a lot of throwbacks to it.
And see, that's the thing that bothers me is that game still had its hard parts to it, though.
Yeah.
It was still a platformer, whereas these new ones, that's kind of what I've been curious of. Do you consider it to be a platformer in the old guard of Yoshi games, or is this just another reimagining of Wii U Yoshi?
It's a continuation of Woolly World.
It's too soft for me.
But
yeah, no, that was the.
I really enjoyed it coming off of Sekiro though.
Yeah.
Because I was just so frustrated and mad about everything, and then I needed a tension breaker, and Yoshi did that.
Well, see, I found a different tension breaking game, and I'm gonna. Right now, Rowdy's wife is playing it. It's called Donut County. Oh my gosh, we're gonna talk about that next time because I'm gonna get the wives' opinions on this one. So this should be interesting next time. We'll have them in the show. But a game that I've been playing that is a little and you've been playing it too, a little stressful is Guacamelee 2.
Yeah, man. I really like it. The art style in it, the way it controls, I love beat 'em up games and hack and slash games. And this right here, I mean, to me it's the pinnacle of Metroidvania beat 'em up style games.
And the platforming is great. Like there's a lot of save points in this game. Like there's a ridiculous amount of save points, and for good reason, because you're going to go through various fights, and they treat it like you're about to go into an epic match with a bunch of people. So they'll go Lucha, and you go in and fight, or you have to go through a series of platforming obstacles, and when you actually get through it, it feels good. Like you earned it. and you're awesome.
It's kind of like
It's a good balance.
some of them are really difficult, almost like Celeste was.
Yeah. And see, I haven't played Celeste, but
Oh man, I really like Celeste. This is easier than the platform.
that's what I was
parts
gonna
are
say. If
easier
you
than
went too
Celeste.
much tougher than Guacamelee for me in certain areas,
But yeah, like in
wouldn't
parts
play
of the parts of the platforming where you
Mm-hmm.
have to switch back and forth between the worlds, because you could switch back and forth between these worlds. I'm not going to go into the story of it, but you could hit a button, and certain platforms that were there are now not there, and vice versa. So you're jumping from one platform into thin air, and
Well,
you have to switch worlds.
and the worlds are pretty much the land of the dead in life. I mean, I
Well,
think we
yeah.
can get. I mean, it's key element in the first game,
That's
and
true.
this game is honestly
It's a continuation.
It's a continuation. You actually start the game defeating the boss from the first one.
Yeah, the beginning of the game is the last fight.
And you're dealing with a bunch of parallel universes. So I'm not going to go too much further than that, but it's really well done. And there's some interesting universes that you go to based on other video games. Have you gotten to the car?
Have I got?
There's a part where a car and it's like Street Fighter.
I had to have. I'm not far behind you.
Oh man, I just wait. It's great, but there's some great humor in the game, and a lot of it's tongue in cheek. There's some good art style in the game, and they do a lot of reference to like Aztec, Mayan, Olmec, Incan art styles. They use a lot of references to different mythology. There's a lot of, sort of what you'd expect from a Dia de los Muertos stylization, but it's done almost like a vector graphic, so
Yeah.
thinking simplified lines and colors and things, but it's so well done. The color palettes are so great, and it's put together so well, it makes an amazing aesthetic in the game. The music is good, especially when you switch worlds and it has altered versions of the
It's
song
like
that you're
almost
playing.
like a lo-fi, like crazy flanger filters on them and stuff. Whenever
And
you switch,
Any game that has the chicken Illuminati as a core element is good with me.
that's true.
I won't go too far into the chicken Illuminati, but watch your back. I wouldn't buy so many eggs. And by the way, you can be a chicken.
Yeah,
You can fight as a chicken. I freaking pile drive somebody as a chicken.
I love
It's
playing.
like
as the
chicken Zangief.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's a great game. We'll have a review later on that on a separate podcast, maybe a YouTube video on that once we finish it up.
yeah.
And another game I've been playing, man, Splatoon 2 put out a great update. I know you don't play much Splatoon 2.
You play Splatoon nonstop.
Man, I play too much Splatoon. I play with a guy, though, that has like 2 or 3 times the amount of hours than me, though.
Christ.
So I don't feel so bad whenever my thing says 300 something hours. But now they have new weapons that have badges, so you can actually get badges based on how much you've inked.
You don't need no stinking badges.
We do need badges. I've needed something as an achievement on that game because I have so much money that I should be crashing the entire economic system of the world in Splatoon because I have nothing to spend it on. I bought everything in the game.
You'd be a Saudi oil
I
businessman.
would be. So I've gotten that far. So I needed something, but they've finally gotten the weapon that I've needed, that I wanted the entire game. Okay, so I'm a little crazy on Splatoon, and I make what are called like builds for different weapons. And one of my favorite builds that I made on the first game was called by the group that I play with the Body Snatcher, because I would get a brush, I would use Ninja Squid, throw out a sprinkler,
Okay.
and hide in the ink because you can't see them in the ink.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever somebody would go after the sprinkler, because I'm fishing, essentially, I would hop out from an angle and take them down within a second. And so they considered it like they were being snatched up, like you never knew. And so people get scared whenever I'm using my body snatching methods whenever I play in these large groups. So now it's really fun. I had the Body Snatcher black because they finally released an ink brush with a sprinkler.
You nerd.
Oh, it's great. And there's some other good weapons too. There's a lot of good stuff. There is a giant hammer stamp now that is so scary to go against. If you haven't played Splatoon 2 in a while, it is a great time to get back into the game. and fight me. Bring it on. I'll share my stuff later on. People can see how they go up against me, and I'll snatch them away. But if you go against Snickety, you're going to lose too. That's the guy that plays with me, and he's been ranked top in the world, one of the Splatfests.
Yeesh.
Like within the top 10 or something. Anyway, that dude can ink. So that's pretty much what I've been playing. Guess the next thing we need to talk about is, man, that stinker of a direct. I mean, state of play.
Well, see, the state of play, like, I'm a huge Sony fanboy. Like, I really, really love Sony. And a PlayStation 4, I play a lot on it. I actually bought a PS4 Pro just because of the 4K TV, and it looks absolutely amazing. Mm-hmm. So, coming from me, a huge Sony fanboy, I have to say I wasn't impressed with their state of play. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm glad they're doing this. Like, I love the whole direct approach of getting stuff to you. I mean, I talked last week about how, or last podcast about how I think E3 is going to be going the way of the Buffalo soon, and
poor Buffalo.
It's just going to be direct style presentations, and I would actually prefer that, except this first one from Sony, they haven't found their groove yet. And I understand they're really trying to push that VR. When VR first came out, I went all out and I got the HTC Vive. Mm-hmm. And I really like it.
Yeah.
But the PS4 VR set is more for the people who don't have the room, more for apartment life kind of thing. Because you could just kind of like sit down and play with it. But you don't have to have a big space like you do the Vive. Like me, I'm like clearing stuff out, like almost knocking over bookshelves and stuff.
I'd kick a dog.
Oh, it was awful.
So many
man.
dogs.
I mean, you've been to my house when we were playing. It's crazy.
Surprised none of us died.
But some of the games they were showing, like the Iron Man one, it sounds cool. Like in theory.
In theory, because that's all it was, though. Did you see underneath it? It just says not actual gameplay.
Well, see, and then my whole problem is even if that was gameplay, years ago when we did the review of that VR game that I can't remember the name of,
Advanced Battle Racing, the worst game ever.
If you were flying around at one point, but as soon as you lose track of the horizon, as soon as you turn your spaceship. Man. I mean, you would almost vomit. Like, I actually have prescription strength nausea medicine I had to take just to play this game. And that's not something you need to play a game. So with the Iron Man game, I kind of feel that's how it would be.
And, just kind of going into that, too. The PlayStation, I'm always worried about frame rate. I don't have a PSVR. Do the frame rates actually reach that 90 frames per second mark that they're supposed to?
If you play on a PS4 Pro.
So if you're just playing like straight up PS4,
if you're playing on a regular
everywhere.
PS4, I mean you're looking at probably 30, 60 frame rate.
Oh no.
Yeah, you don't get the full frame rate until you do a PS4 Pro.
Oh no.
So that's another deal. What else? So then they also did the No Man's Sky. They were talking about the VR update for it. Mm-hmm. When No Man's Sky came out, I actually liked it. I mean,
love No Man's Sky. I liked the original one where it was like you go into some places, you're not coming out.
Well, yeah, I mean they delivered on what they said they were going to deliver on, but the multiplayer experience just wasn't there. I can understand being mad about that.
Yeah.
But then, as they progressed and they've slowly been working on the game, it was probably 3-4 months ago. I actually installed it, did one of the new updates, started playing, and it's almost a completely different game now.
Yeah, I started playing it a couple weeks ago.
It looks pretty cool. I would consider doing the No Man's Sky VR if it came to Steam, seeing as I already have the HTC Vive.
My problem is, though, there's no way that runs right. Like, I've gotten into some places, and I have a PC that can run the game really well, like more than it should on a 1080 monitor. And that game runs like garbage sometimes, especially in certain caves whenever there's a lot of growth. Yeah. I guess is one way to put it. So when you're on that's what when you're dealing with 3D procedurally generated stuff, you're always going to run into an issue where there's too much of something.
Oh yeah, man. That was with any game I've played in VR.
I have concerns about that game going to PS VR.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that scares me because I don't want to throw up anymore. But I mean, I've honestly written VR off. I mean, Oh man, that was an interesting dog noise. Thank you, pitbull. So, so I think she might have eaten like a copy of No Man's Sky.
Well, she just watched the state of play.
That could be it.
What were some of the other VR games on there, man? What's this? Ready, Set, Heroes? Was that a VR
That
game?
was not. It was like an ARPG looting game, and you would go against another team. I
I
would play
remember
it.
that. Okay, yeah, that one looked intriguing. It's not a game I would play full price for.
Yeah, I like their saying though. Combat feels crunchy, and the loot flows like water.
That's pretty awesome.
And that's kind of fun. Blood and Truth though was the other VR game, and you play as an army dude from England. It looks like fun. It looks like what VR should be doing.
Exactly. That was the one
It seems
thing.
a bit on rails, but it puts you in a movie style. Is kind of what it feels like to me.
That was the one thing I thought when I saw Blood and Truth. It's like, this is what a VR game should be. Is it going to deliver? Because Sony's going all in with the VR right now, seeing as, I mean, they're at the end of their development cycle. They're not putting anything else in the PlayStation 4. And they really need to recoup some expenses from the VR. So they're going all in with this VR right now, which I understand.
Yeah. And, one thing that they probably spent their money on was the Five Nights at Freddy VR.
I hate Five Nights at Freddy's no matter what, so
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
just
tired
not
of
interested
hearing
at
about
all.
it.
Five Nights at Freddy's could lick my balls.
Well, then,
I was going to try to
Rowdy.
make a Five Nights of Balls joke, but I couldn't think of one that quick.
Well then, it looks like it will be fan service, and it looks like people will actually buy it.
Yeah.
I would imagine that, but that game's kind of dying, so we'll see. Another one that looked good to me was Observation. That's what I'd want to see in VR, though.
Yeah.
It's a sci-fi thriller. It's definitely Space Odyssey 2001, but it's like you are the robot in the game. I'd like to see that in VR, but it's not going to be. Looks good though.
Yeah. So now the games that aren't VR, man, I forgot we passed over this Crash Team Racing here. I liked the Crash Team Racing, the original, like from what I remember. It looks good.
But okay, so I'm a big Mario Kart 8 fan. I've never played Crash Team Racing. Is it worth my time?
It's fun. I don't think you'd like it.
Why is that?
Man,
Meh?
you're head honcho Nintendo guy. You
Yeah.
really like Nintendo, and it does rip a lot from Mario Kart. I mean, all of these kart games.
Is
do,
the gameplay any good? Like,
do you like Mario Kart?
I like Mario Kart.
It's just like
I
Mario
like
Kart.
Mario Kart 8 especially because of the brain-bending action of going upside down and all that stuff that would make
it's
you
not
definitely
gonna-
throw up in VR.
It's not going to be like that.
Okay, see, I'm not that interested in the characters.
Yeah, I just don't think you would like Crash.
Yeah, probably not. I wouldn't like Hello Kitty Racers either, and that's a rip-off game too.
Oh, God.
I'm assuming it's better than that, right?
I mean, maybe.
That's a ringing endorsement.
I've never played Hello Kitty Racing. It might be the best racing game ever.
It could be. We could be wrong here. We could just be letting our prejudices against Hello Kitty ruin all of our gaming.
I mean, that's very much true.
Yeah. Speaking of things that are very cute and cuddly, Mortal Kombat 11, man.
I don't know how I feel about it, man. I mean, I like Mortal Kombat, and I've played every single Mortal Kombat game, but they're just going to have to do something huge this time around before I'm going to start caring. This is going to be one of those games that I'm going to wait till it's for sale for like $10 on Fanatical or Humble Bundle, and then I'll pick it up.
I've never been much of a Mortal Kombat person. Like, I've always been like Team Street Fighter.
Yeah, I understand that.
Mainly because the mechanics for movement in Street Fighter have always been better for me. I like being able to move around the ring a lot. And Mortal Kombat always felt very stiff. But I did think, though, the preview they put on there was actually really good.
Oh, it's great the way they previewed everything.
Oh, yeah, the music was great. And they're doing this sort of like two timelines meet each other. The check yourself before you wreck yourself kind of stuff was funny.
I mean,
it was
that's
humorous.
That's going to be a cool storyline.
Oh, yeah. Man, was it ultra violent. Like, and you expect ultra violence, and maybe it's a little too much for me. Like, I don't want to go that far, because whenever I played Mortal Kombat back in the day, man, how many leg bones would fly out of somebody's head? like all of them, and 10 times more. It was not realistic at all.
Back in my day, we had to put on the blood code.
Oh yeah, remember when the Super Nintendo didn't like have all the stuff on it?
They didn't have any blood in it, so then they had to re-release it months later with the blood code because the Sega Genesis version was selling so much because they had the blood code.
I mean, honestly, if you got a kid, keep them away from this game.
But
the gore is pretty intense. But
my thing with this Mortal Kombat is they're doing like the 2 timelines thing, and on Mortal Kombat 9, they actually kind of rebooted the series. Like they did this whole time travel thing back to basically do a summarized version of the first few Mortal Kombat games and how it changes everything. And then in Mortal Kombat 10, it was supposed to be like a passing of the torch. Like it's a lot of the characters' kids. And in Mortal Kombat 11, now they're doing a 2 timelines thing again. So it feels like they're rehashing 9 and 10 together.
Gotcha.
I mean, it still looks good. It'll be a good fighting game, but I'm gonna wait.
Yeah, and there's another game that was on there that was interesting. It was called Days Gone. Honestly, they spent like 3 minutes showing just the cinematics from the game. The gameplay is interesting looking, I guess. It doesn't look so much like a game more than it does a movie, and it's your zombie movie. Thing that looked interesting about the gameplay, because the gameplay looks kind of generic to a shooter to me, is the fact that you can actually use zombie hordes that are trying to get you to take out gangs of people that are after you too.
So this is going to be a game that I pre-order. When I saw it last year at E3, it blew my mind. Now they didn't talk about it at the State of Play, but at the E3 they talked about how the time of year and the weather affects everything. So they did the same mission during the summertime and the wintertime. So they showed just how different it was. Like I want to say he wasn't able to climb up something because it was icy. And maybe the zombies move slower in the ice. I may be lying.
So they're reading a lot of like World War Z.
Yeah, and it's crazy because they're like fast-moving zombies, like in World War Z. And then you have to like upgrade your motorcycle and things like that. It has a lot to do with like the motorcycle gang.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pre-order this one. It looks pretty good. I'm gonna play it. Hopefully, a few podcasts from now, I'll have my impressions of it.
Yeah, it looked interesting. The gameplay looks a little slow to me, but you never know. I mean, if you look at Fallout 4, it looks kind of slow too.
Well, it's more about like setting everything up. Like you said, you could use the zombie hordes to your will. So
it has some potential. So, oh yeah, and I was about to go ahead and move on past this one. The best game to me that was out there looked like Concrete Genie. It looks like it's the way the mouse moves kind of remind me of like the old school Rudolph, like claymation stuff. But it's about an adventure of a bullied kid that is an artist that he's basically making his own friends with drawings. And as somebody who was an artist as a kid, dealt with bullies until which I don't suggest nowadays, started body slamming them in high school. I really want this. There is something just spectacular about the idea of having something drawn and creating this own world around him. It moves through the walls, and it looks like he's getting sucked into another realm, and he's having to defeat this evil with his powers of creation. Artistically looks excellent. One of the few games that I think really look like something new in my mind. Whereas a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, everything up here is basically a rehash of everything that's been done before. Yeah. Whereas Concrete Genie, though, looks like something fresh and new to me.
I've seen a lot of gameplay from Concrete Genie because I've been waiting for this game for quite some time.
I have not. I've just seen this preview. What does it play like?
So you can actually have to use the monsters and stuff that you make like on the walls to unlock more areas in the game. So it's basically a puzzle game where you could paint all these different monsters and scenarios and stuff to move. Like there's one part where there was it was like fire that was on the side of the building, so you had to like paint in some water like to put it out so that you could move through it. So it's basically like a puzzle game that you solve everything by using the paintbrush to
Okay.
do all that kind of. So it looks really cool. I've been waiting for a while for this game, and it looks like it's gonna be a good one to me.
Yeah, I'll have to look up some gameplay because at the same time, though, I could see that being very much a Scribblenauts style, though. So I guess it could be similar to stuff that's been done before, but the
Yeah.
aesthetic is really nice.
Yeah, just the way they do it looks awesome.
Oh yeah. Do I need to go relocate the Belle even further away?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. If this is still recording, my pitbull is very whiny. And she is far, far away behind the gate in the kitchen because we have a baby gate just for the dogs. And if you hear the occasional whine, it's my pitbull being a prima donna.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's a chonk. Okay.
Up next. Oh, it's rumor time.
Rumor time! So what's the rumor, Rowdy?
Okay, so the big rumors that everybody's talking about are the Nintendo Pro or the Nintendo Mini. So the way that I look at this, people say that the Mini is going to be like a Switch where the Joy-Cons are built in, like it's more of a 3DS kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would be that'd be a bad idea, just because there's so many games where you need to take the Joy-Cons off to play. Like, think about how many people out there, or how many parents out there are going to buy a Switch Mini and then get something like 1-2 Switch for their kids, and they can't pull the Joy-Cons off to play the games.
How can you play Splatoon? Like, it's very hard to play Splatoon 2 on handheld, and it requires the gyro movement, and you're just like having to be like one of those birds that go into, like, dip their head into the water over and over. It looks really silly. Unless you just rank or put the sensitivity all the way up. I mean, it's useless. Now, I've seen that rumor, though, everywhere. And everybody's saying, well, my reputable source says blah, blah, blah. And I've heard the way that they're starting to stage the rumor is that pitbull is that essentially Nintendo is producing the Tegra. Well, Nintendo's not producing the Tegra X1.
Oh yeah.
The Tegra X1 is a 20 nanometer chip set, and the company that is producing it is wanting to switch off of that 20-meter process because they have to have an assembly line that builds with that process. And everything that NVIDIA is doing is going to be down to, I believe, 12 nanometers or 7 nanometers.
Okay.
So they're running into a problem where the Switch is holding back a whole line to itself because nothing else is being produced by this older chipset. So they're wanting to switch over to a newer process to save some money. And it won't necessarily, I mean, that's where we're kind of seeing this rumor and why they might be pushing it. I don't know how valid that is, but I've heard that from a couple different sources already online. But if they switch over to something new, and it's about time because the Tegra X1 is forever old at this point. It's an old, Android-based hardware chipset that's used in a lot of things, and the Switch is really old tech. Like really old tech, and they're going to have to switch it up at some point to save money because if you keep producing with all this old tech, basically what I just said. Anyway, so what they're thinking is they might be bumping up to a new Tegra chip, or I forgot what the exact code name is called, and they're going to be running on a smaller nanometer process, which would save battery life essentially because you have less travel with the electrons or something. But so now we're looking at the potential of a Nintendo Pro, and then which would essentially be stronger. Now, the way the Switch is built, it's made for scalability.
Yeah.
If you look at docked versus undocked, you have completely scalable graphics. And they've done a really good job of, one, the Switch got so popular that it forced everybody to start planning into their pipelines for game creation to make things scalable. So it's not going to be a huge deal if they make a Nintendo Pro that's running similarly or with similar hardware that will work on this. So I think it's pretty valid. I mean, with what you're looking at with the manufacturing process, It seems there's some rumblings going on in various storefronts right now, and usually whenever the rumors come out like this en masse, and I think it's Eurogamer and a bunch of other ones are saying, yeah, this is pretty much what we're being told. Either it's about to happen, or Nintendo's about to do something so drastically different that this is all misinformation in a campaign.
We'll see.
But there's going to be a new hardware somehow.
The first I heard about the Pro was, this is months ago, and the first thing that came out is people were talking about possibly a 4K Switch, and to me that is just, it's not feasible.
No, I don't see that happening.
Because when they did the whole, was it a new 3DS, and they had games that would only run on the new 3DS. That was awful. So they had to take, and they realized that was a bad idea. So there were some games that came out later that could run on the new 3DS, but could also run on the old one. And I saw IGN and Kotaku both do reviews of 3DS games that ran on the new 3DS and the old 3DS. So was it Hyrule Warriors scored like, I don't know, 8 something, like high 7s, low 8s, somewhere in there on the new 3DS, but like lower than a 4 on an old 3DS because of how it ran. So that would be the problem with a Nintendo Pro running 4Ks. Like if you made games that were strictly like if you were to run Resident Evil 2 on there, like you couldn't run it on the old Switch. People are going to buy those games and get mad. So like you said, I think a Nintendo Pro would literally just be something that could scale up, or even if it was maybe a beefier dock with the same Switch.
You know, and I think you'll see a couple different things. One, you'll see improvements on frames per second.
Yeah.
And you might see an upscale in graphics, because a lot of your games, like, I mean, look at Yoshi. Yoshi is hitting sub 720.
Yes.
And I think they were saying it's 640 at the best, 640p. If you got that game in 1080p, it'd look great, honestly. And I think a Pro could easily do that. With the advances we've had in a lot of mobile tech, and that's what the Switch is, it's mobile tech. That'd be an easy target on a dock system with plenty of cooling and whatnot. Now, I do think possibly we might see a jump up to 2K on a Pro. I might be thinking a little too big here.
I mean, it's not too much farther beyond 1080. I mean, I don't see... It wouldn't be too
2K
bad.
is a possibility. 4K is no. Unless you're running the game like with 12 pixels and 10 frames a second maybe. I'm, of course, being facetious, but you get what I'm saying. Now, where it gets tricky is the Mini. I think if you move to a better process and you have, a smaller distance with the nanometer change, essentially, you're going to save battery life. And I think they'd be able to run it pretty much the same as almost a dock Switch if they went the Mini route. Now, I don't think I think they're still going to keep the Joy-Cons. Like, I don't see them getting rid of the Joy-Cons. Now, I do see them possibly changing the screen. Yeah. Because you could... Right now, the Switch is at a 720. Okay? So, I could see them dropping it down to 640, 480, or 540, which are all things that they use on a lot of these games already to save battery life. Kids don't really need the high resolution on it. And then the upgraded Switch would probably go to a 1080p screen. Kids
are like dogs anyways. They're colorblind. They only see like black and gray.
But
and they shit all over the floor.
Oh man. So anyway, so, those are kind of the things I think will happen with the Nintendo Pro or Mini. Now, the pricing, I think what they'll end up doing is phasing out the Switch, the one now. They won't sell it anymore. They'll call it the new Switch or something. I think we'll see the Switch go to a $200 system after E3, if this rumor is going to happen. And then the new ones are going to come out at $300, just like the same price. Because they're going to need to get the old ones out of stock. And... I think maybe we'll see, like, we're going to be talking about GameStop and stuff in just a bit, and see a little bit more sales if that were to happen. And there's some other rumors, too, going on right now. It looks like Best Buy accidentally leaked some stuff.
Man, between Best Buy and Walmart Canada,
Yeah,
get
you said Walmart
so
Canada
many-
leaks a lot, right?
all the time, man. It just seems that like anytime before E3 or anything like that, if there's a rumor that somebody leaked something, 9 times out of 10 it's Walmart Canada. I don't know what they're doing up there, man. It's always them though. But
Well,
we saw, what is it, the Persona 5, the
which
Metroid
we
Prime
knew was
trilogy,
coming.
and Link to the
Probably.
Past
Yeah.
on Best Buy. Yeah, we knew Persona was coming because they got, was it Joker coming to?
Yeah.
I've never played a Persona game. Persona 5 looks really good, but I always told myself that if it came on the Switch, I would consider it.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know much about the series.
I-
I'll try it maybe. I'll see what other people say.
JRPG, you go to school during the day, superhero by night.
I don't think that's really not a story hook that I really want to deal with.
I think I'm gonna play it.
Yeah, I'll see how it goes. I'll let you tell me how it goes. Now, Metroid Prime Trilogy, I'm all about. Like, I need to get back into Metroid before they release a new Metroid Prime 4
Yeah.
for the Switch. I want to replay the whole trilogy. I am excited about that. I'm curious to see how it'll look on the Switch. And my favorite thing in the world, gyro controls. They better have them.
You and your damn gyro.
My
controls.
gyro controls. Oh, I need
So
them.
weird.
And Link to the Past, man. Super Nintendo Link to the Past. Now,
I've beaten it too many times. I can care less about this one.
I will still probably get it if it's a good price. Now, what I'm curious is they're doing the Game Boy. What is that?
Link's Awakening.
Link's Awakening kind of as a revisioning. I wonder if they're going to do the same thing to Link to the Past.
I'd play it then.
Because
But
that
I've just bought it, beat it so many times. This Link to the Past that I'm gonna pass it up this time.
Link to the Pass it up. Got it. Okay. And so I guess we'll spin off from there and go into our final topic.
GameStop might be dying.
And if that's a good or a bad thing, because we were talking about Best Buy's rumors selling games, but Best Buy's not really a gaming store only.
No.
They're an electronics and appliance store.
I mean, I always go there when I need a new SD card or a hard drive or something
Right.
like that. But when I think about video games, it's not the first place that comes to mind.
No. But, the thing is, GameStop has kind of turned into a bad word for plenty of gamers. They're notorious for short-charging people on their used games, which... there are plenty of
Christ.
times where I've been like, oh, I got this game and I really don't like it that much. Well,
Here's $5.
Okay.
Well, I just spent $60 on it. Here's $5, and they resell it for $55.
that is true. They also have had some less than stellar employees in the past.
Christ.
And they are very opinionated to a fault at times, at least at the GameStops that I've gone to. If you pick up a game that they think is beneath them,
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think that's mostly just a managing issue. And for buying up other smaller brands. I mean, however, they are kind of last in an epic game of King of the Hill, where many other game sellers have fallen down and broken their crowns, so to speak. Now, they're having to compete with a second wave of adversaries from the onslaught of digital gaming stores we talked about last time, such as Steam, Green Man Gaming, Fanatical, the Epic Store that everybody's not too thrilled with at the moment. And they're kind of losing some ground here. Last week, their shares fell to the lowest time since about 2008 due to weaker than expected first quarter profits. And they're stating now that they have no clue if they're going to make profit this year or how much. Because normally they have a net income that hovers somewhere around $350 million. But this year, so they make somewhere around $3.9 billion in revenue a year. And I'm going to try not to get too much into this, and I've seen a bunch of different numbers everywhere. So there's really not a whole lot of profit compared to the revenue that they're seeing. And what's happening is they are seeing potentially a loss in the net profit, to where they're thinking that now they might only have $34.7 million in profit this year. And when you're dealing with those smaller numbers and you're dealing with billions in revenue, it can easily go south for a company.
Oh yeah.
And a large portion of this is due to hardware sales dropping significantly. There's no real new systems coming out. And you look at, I mean, Sony's not announcing anything right now.
Yeah, well, everything's at the end of their life cycle right now.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely. Except for the Switch.
Yeah. I mean, Switch is still selling good, but PS4 and Xbox One are both at the end of their life cycle. There's still rumors about the all-digital Xbox One maybe coming out.
And I don't know if I see them releasing another Xbox in the future.
Well, I mean, they have something in the pipeline. There's a whole lot of rumors flying around about the next Xbox and the next PlayStation right now. But I mean, it could just be a valley that we're in right now, seeing as we're at the end of the hardware cycles.
Right.
And once it picks up with the new hardware cycles, they may pick back up and start hitting the 350 million in profits again. My personal opinion on GameStop, I hate going in and then trying to be sold everything else.
Yeah.
So like, I just want to come in, trade in some games, buy something new, but they try and get you to sign up for Game Informer. They try and get you to sign up for their rewards program, all that kind of stuff. And I just kind of want to go in, get a game, and not be looked down on.
And they've also changed kind of what they're selling, and I think part of it is due to lean times, due to the change. The gaming industry ebbs and flows. Where you're going to have a big boom time whenever the new system's coming out, and you're going to have a bust time at the end of a cycle. And investors don't like that. They like consistently going up. But they've changed some of their products whenever they bought Think Geek in 2015. And now whenever you go to the store, I mean, it's just all this memorabilia everywhere. And honestly, I never buy it because I know it's marked up dramatically, and that's what it's there for, is profit. But now it's to the point where they have to throw everything on clearance because they have so much of this junk nobody wants to buy.
I was going to say, just buy it on clearance on ThinkGeek.com.
Oh, man. But ThinkGeek, they charge you like $1 million for shipping and handling. I've thought about that because I get the emails every like 10 seconds. So I just go to the store and see what I can find on clearance.
Well, here's another thing real quick. I just remembered, back to the whole profits and stuff. I saw a graph on either Kotaku, Game Informer, one of those websites, and it had, how much GameStop makes per new game, for new physical game, per digital game, per hardware sale, and per used game sale. And it's mere cents for each one.
Yeah.
But their used game is more than all of the other ones combined. So that's why they're trying to push the used games. I mean, you're talking, I want to say they made 6 cents per console sold.
And I don't doubt that because there's so much between the licensing rights and all this other stuff and who can sell what and the competition with all these other stores that don't necessarily make their money just in gaming.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they have to sell at the same, manufacturer suggested retail price. So I can understand them needing to sell their used games at a massive profit because, I mean, you look at the small margin of profit to, revenue. They're really not making that much in the grand scheme of things. It seems like it whenever you're talking $350 million, but now it's $36 million. But when you're comparing that to billions and how much they're actually spending and bringing in, it's kind of scary. Now, the thing that I think is weird is the Think Geek thing. I think they're really going to have to change their way they do things because right now, if you look at Think Geek, they are on a massive clearance sale, and they have been for like a couple months now. I think partially it's due to this report coming in. They're trying to liquidate as much as they can and try to get some profit somewhere. But man, there is not a lot of new stuff coming out. You can only sell so many Harry Potter items, so many things from Star Trek, Star Wars. I mean, all this stuff has been sold until nobody really wants it anymore. There's nothing special about it.
Well, it's also the quality of stuff they're putting out now. Years ago, recently, or I guess
I have bought some cups.
Ago, I bought a messenger bag, and it was called the Bag of Holding.
I saw that. I almost got
that. Everybody remembers from D&D. Now, it is a huge bag, but the problem is that it's just not quality.
Yeah.
And I was looking at reviews, and people were saying that this is a newer version of the bag of holding. That the old version lasted for years.
Really?
And people were finally like buying a new one after 5-6 years of using it. But the new one was just falling apart within months. And mine, like, it had some pieces come loose. One of the zippers is just done for, and this is within 6 months of using it.
Well, I buy a lot of coffee cups, because every time I have a different coffee cup for you to use, which, by the way, the coffee of the day is Silencer Smooth by Black Rifle Coffee Company. Anyway, you start doing what we're drinking each time. So I bought the coffee cups that I bought from them recently have had cracks in them develop after a month or two. And that's not how they used to be. Like, I have a Wolverine cup that I got there a billion years ago that is still going strong, but I had a Spider-Man cup that was recent that developed a crack along the bottom. And if you've ever done clay, that's a really weird, like, in a circle along the bottom is really weird for a crack to develop. I haven't had a cup do like that since. So I'm curious what they're using for a lot of their products now. But, which is probably why they're cheap. But to me, Think Geek is essentially how video game companies will sell cables way beyond what they should be. They're using those products and selling them as pure profit. The problem is, I think they've invested a little too much into Think Geek.
Yeah, I can see that.
And especially the Christmas seasons. I don't think as many nerd things are bought. And I think the Think Geek brand is going to be scaled back dramatically. One, I think the store that's usually next to GameStop is Hot Topic. They're going away too in the future. I'm not going to get too much into that today, but and I think they're going to have to focus. Rowdy he just made his emo hair just fly in the wind.
I don't have emo hair.
He doesn't, but he made it look like it. But I think they're going to have to really focus on fighting this digital market, and they're not really allowed to sell digital games, are they?
Okay, PlayStation or Sony recently stated that they will not sell digital games anywhere else except for their storefront now.
Yeah.
So you cannot buy a digital game from any other place except for the PSN store now. So, I mean, it's not going to make a huge dent in a GameStop, but it's going to make a dent.
Yeah.
Something they don't need. But at the same time, think about how many grandparents are going to buy stuff for their kids. Like, oh, well, what do you want, grandkids? And they're always going to try and get. You could easily send them an email for like gift cards for Xbox, Nintendo, PlayStation, and stuff like that. But grandparents are notorious for going and getting physical gift cards. So that's going to be. That's still going to be a seller there. But as far as the digital stuff goes, yeah, I mean, I've been buying all of my PlayStation games recently digitally. I hate going to the store and trying to buy them there. And then when you order them online, you have to wait for it to come in. But the digital games, we live in the Central Time Zone, so I could play them at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So 11 o'clock at night, man, I'll boot up some games. I did that for Red Dead Redemption, Sekiro, a lot of these games. Like 11 at night, boom, ready to go. So that to me is a big deal. But the problem that I see with digital games, it's not in our area, but I recently saw someone from Bastrop. It's a city around Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
So it's near Austin, but they don't have big name internet, and they had a 20 gigabyte data cap for satellite internet. So this person, they couldn't even play Apex Legends. So digital games, there is a rise in digital games now, but I don't think it'll ever be the top thing, just for the fact that not everywhere gets really good internet.
And that is true. There is a large. And we do live in a slightly rural area. If you go 5 or 6 miles to the east of my house, you cannot get cable internet. If you go in a straight line, because we live out in the swamps of Texas and you have to ride alligators to get to work. That's what I'm telling people nowadays.
But now, if we lived in Houston, because we're about 2 hours away from Houston.
Yeah.
If you lived in Houston, I mean, you're talking some of the best internet ever.
Absolutely. But, you know, and this is something that I could see GameStop keeping alive is with rural areas. And I think they're going to have to move out of malls.
Yes.
They're going to have to move into strip malls, into small towns and medium-sized towns to kind of stay alive. They're not going to do as big in large cities, but they'll do well enough to keep a store open, I really think. Because, you know, a big part of the gaming experience that I don't think will go away is the day one of a game or a console coming out. Some of my best experiences in the past have been going and waiting in line for a new system. Best one ever, you remember was it the Wii or the GameCube that we waited at a Walmart?
You waited at a Walmart.
It was
I didn't
me.
do shit.
Oh, no, I waited there. Okay, so let me.
And then
I gotta
stayed up all night and beat Luigi's Mansion.
Yes, yeah. So it was the GameCube.
Yeah, it was GameCube.
Okay, so stayed at a Walmart and we had this huge line of people and stuff. Man, there were people bringing like hot chocolate up to the line, and everybody's sitting around playing their Game Boys and whatever. It was awesome. And there's this camaraderie before a system launch, and that you just don't get whenever you're having it delivered to you. Now, you do kind of whenever you're talking to people online about it. You might get online and chat with people. But generally, you want to hang out with people. You want to meet those people that are there at that midnight launch. And I think if they're going to have to focus on that. But none of that's happening right now. There are no new systems coming out. And I honestly think we might be, in general, the news is looking a little too much at the fact that this is normal in games.
Mm-hmm.
We are in a lean time. And GameStop is never going to be that company that reports completely consistently up profits.
Oh, yeah.
That's why nobody will buy them. They actually wanted somebody to buy them, I think it was last year, and they've stopped.
Oh, it actually wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a couple months.
They're not
maybe.
looking for a buyer anymore. And that's the thing. I mean, I honestly think if you were smart and you invested in them at these lean times, you're going to get that back. I mean, if you look at their charts on their investments and their stocks, you'll notice there's a pattern. And right now, we're just in a lean time. I think they are running up against some issues with digital gaming markets, but there's still that value of buying a game in person that I don't think is going away anytime soon unless the game market collapses, which I think that'll be a discussion for a whole nother day. Do you think the game market will collapse anytime soon?
I don't know if we try and re-release E.T. for Atari, maybe.
Yes. E.T. Do you have any more on that?
No, I think that's about it, man.
All right.
For this week.
Well, that is it for this week. Thanks for listening in. There's something that Rowdy likes to say about like buttons.
Oh, yeah. What did I say?
Subscribe, smash the like button, things like that.
I mean, I don't go that crazy with it, but
I see
hit
people
us,
do it on YouTube.
Hit us up on Twitter. You can follow us at Lamer Gamer Podcast. You can also follow our personal ones as well. Mm-hmm. We're also now on Spotify, Google.
We are now on Google Play.
Okay.
On the podcast.
We're working on iTunes, and then we also have some of the stuff up on YouTube right now. So you can go to the YouTube. Mm-hmm. What is it? People say hit the subscribe button, ring the bell.
Yeah, make sure you hit the notification button because there's a lot of complaints all over YouTube right now about notifications not necessarily working.
Yeah, we know the algorithm's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, and also transistor.fm / Lamer Gamers podcast is a good way to catch us. We'll tweet it out, so if you don't want to actually type that stuff in. And you can follow the RSS link that will get you on various Android products. I know I personally listen on Podcast Addict rather than Spotify because I like their app a little bit better on Android. So that's it for the show. Thanks for listening, and you have a good one.
Have a good one, guys. See you later.